What if the most memorable Valentine's date involving two global stars was not announced to the world, but quietly witnessed by only a few, leaving everyone else to piece together a story from shadows and timing? If you are still watching, subscribe. Let's get the story started as the world of your favorite celebrity unfolds.
Stay tuned.
The evening did not begin with a headline. It began with an ordinary sunset, the kind that paints the city in gold and asks for nothing in return. Traffic moved as usual. Restaurants prepared for the busiest romantic night of the year. Couples arrived with laughter, with expectations, with flowers held carefully in hand. And somewhere among them, according to whispers that later stirred the internet, sat two figures whose lives are rarely ordinary. The fascination ignited from a simple claim, a sighting. A note passed between online communities that a well-known upscale restaurant had hosted two of the most recognizable faces in Korean entertainment on Valentine's night. No photograph surfaced. No staff spoke publicly. Just the quiet assertion that they were there, seated in a private corner, away from curious eyes. In the language of documentary storytelling, this is where curiosity becomes atmosphere. Because when two people known for portraying love stories on screen are rumored to share a real-world romantic setting, the public does not just observe. It imagines. It fills the silence with possibility. The restaurant itself becomes part of the narrative. Soft lighting, discreet service, tables spaced far enough for privacy, the gentle sound of cutlery and low conversation forming a background melody. A place where moments can exist without being documented. For individuals whose daily lives are measured in camera flashes and headlines, such spaces are rare sanctuaries. Fame often turns simple acts into performances. A dinner becomes a statement. A meeting becomes speculation. Privacy becomes a carefully guarded resource. That is why the idea of a quiet Valentine dinner feels powerful. It suggests intention. Not a publicity event. Not a promotional appearance. Just time chosen deliberately on a day dedicated to affection. The kind of time that cannot be scheduled by managers or framed by media. Imagine the scene as a filmmaker would. Two people arriving separately to avoid attention. A reserved table under a different name. A greeting that is calm, familiar, unexaggerated. Not the dramatic reunions of television scripts, but the composed warmth of two adults who understand the value of low-key moments. Conversation flows differently when it is not meant for an audience. There are no perfect lines, no rehearsed expressions. Only real questions. Real listening. The kind of exchange shaped by years of experience in an industry that rarely allows normalcy. Did you finish your recent filming comfortably? Have you had time to rest? Are you eating well these days? Such questions may sound simple, yet they reveal care in its most mature form. Not dazzling, not cinematic, but sincere. The rumor spread not because it was loud, but because it felt plausible. Both individuals have long carried images of grace and emotional depth. Audiences have seen them portray layered characters, navigate complex stories, and maintain composure through the changing tides of fame. So the public could imagine them valuing a quiet dinner more than a grand spectacle. Interestingly, the lack of proof made the story stronger. No blurry photos to dissect. No video clips to analyze. Just a narrative shaped by timing, by cleared schedules, by the poetic coincidence of Valentine's Day itself. In a world saturated with content, absence can be intriguing. A documentary voice would reflect here on how modern myths are formed, not always through facts, but through emotional logic. When a story aligns with how people perceive two public figures, it finds a place in collective imagination. And perhaps the deeper reason this story resonates is universal. People want to believe that those who spend their lives performing love on screen also experience gentle moments off screen. That behind the glamour are hearts that appreciate simple connection. That fame does not erase the human desire for quiet companionship. As the imagined evening unfolds, dessert arrives. Maybe it is something understated. A shared dish rather than separate choices. A small detail, yet symbolic of ease. There is no rush. No one checking how they look on camera. No need to curate an image. Outside, the city continues its Valentine celebrations loudly. Inside, the mood remains calm. Two schedules briefly aligned. Two lives momentarily paused. Eventually, the evening ends the way most real evenings do. Without drama. Without declarations. Just a natural close. A polite farewell. A return to separate cars, separate responsibilities, waiting in the morning. And still, the idea lingers. Not as confirmed news, but as a soft story people enjoy holding on to. A reminder that romance does not always need spectacle. That meaningful moments can exist quietly, even in lives surrounded by attention. If this were the closing of a documentary, the narrator might say this. The world often sees love as an announcement, a photograph, a headline. But sometimes love, or even the possibility of it, lives in the unseen spaces. In dinners without cameras. In conversations without witnesses. In memories that belong only to those present. The screen would fade on a city at night, lights glowing from countless windows, each hiding stories the world will never fully know. And the final thought would remain gentle. Perhaps the most romantic Valentine moments are not the ones proven to the world, but the ones protected from it. What if the story did not end at the restaurant door, but continued in the quiet hours that follow a meaningful evening? Night deepens differently after a day filled with emotion. The city grows calmer, yet the mind becomes louder. Reflections arrive uninvited. Memories replay in small fragments. A sentence remembered. A laugh recalled. A pause that felt comfortable rather than empty. For people who live under constant observation, these private reflections are where truth often lives. Not in interviews, not in statements, but in the silence after a shared moment. Imagine one of them looking out of a car window on the way home, watching the lights blur into soft lines. The world outside moves quickly, but inside there is stillness. A quiet awareness that, for a few hours, life felt ordinary. Human. Grounded. No scripts. No directors. No retakes. Just presence. This is the hidden side of celebrity life rarely explored. The discipline required to separate public image from private feeling. The understanding that not every meaningful connection must be displayed to be real. In fact, some gain value precisely because they are unseen. A cinematic narrator would pause here, letting the thought settle. Because audiences often chase confirmation while those living the story may simply cherish the experience. Not as a headline, but as a memory. Not as proof, but as a feeling. Somewhere, perhaps, a phone lights up with a simple message.
Did you get home safely?
A short reply follows.
Yes.
Thank you for tonight. Nothing more is needed. No dramatic declarations. No grand promises. Just mutual respect carried in small words. The kind of exchange that speaks quietly but lingers long. Meanwhile, beyond their private world, the public continues its search. Fans scroll. Communities speculate. People analyze schedules, past interviews, subtle coincidences. Each person assembling their own version of the story, like a puzzle, missing pieces. And maybe that is part of modern storytelling. The audience participates. They do not only watch narratives unfold, they help build them. Yet the irony remains. The more the world looks outward for evidence, the more the truth, whatever it may be, lives inward, in moments never recorded. Consider how many meaningful connections in any life are never photographed. How many important conversations happen without witnesses. How many turning points feel small at the time, but later reveal their weight. Fame does not erase this reality. It only hides it behind brighter lights. If this were a documentary, the camera would not chase the stars. It would pan slowly across the city instead. Thousands of couples celebrating. Thousands of individuals hoping. Thousands of quiet dinners where feelings are explored without certainty. Because in the end, the rumored Valentine evening is not just about two famous figures. It becomes a mirror for something universal. The desire to connect. The courage to spend time with someone without knowing how the story will be told later. The narrator's voice would soften. Perhaps the true power of that night was not romance confirmed or denied. Perhaps it was the reminder that even the most visible lives still seek invisible moments. That behind global recognition are people who still appreciate calm conversation, shared meals, and the rare gift of being seen as a person rather than a persona. And as the imagined story drifts toward its close, one final image remains. A table cleared, glasses empty, chairs gently pushed back into place. No sign left that anything significant occurred there at all, except for the possibility that, for a short time, two lives slowed down enough to share the same quiet space. And sometimes, in a world that never stops watching, that alone is a kind of romance.